Category 5 Super Typhoon Mawar is the strongest storm in the month of May in the Western Pacific in over 35 years out here as it moves across the Philippine Sea, pulling away from Guam after it moved right over that island here back on a Wednesday. And thankfully, it actually weakened as it moved over Guam, despite the damage we've been seeing there. Now it's re-intensified. Category 5 status. Pressure is down to 910 hectopascals, with winds estimated sustained in that center, according to the Japan Meteorological Agency, upwards of 205 kilometers per hour. By the way, that pressure for Mawar, 910 hectopascals. Tied for the third strongest storm on record in the month of May, going back to the 50s. We had Iris, which was 909 HPA. And if you just look at Dvorak, I think it is above that, maybe not quite to that 890 HPA, which I'm sure this record is probably hard to beat because we did have hurricane hunters in the Western Pacific at that time that went and flew inside storms. And I've said it time and time again. I think if we had hurricane hunters out there, or typhoon hunters, if you will, records would be broken left and right. Right now, we're just using that Dvorak analysis. Point is, though, regardless, Cat 5 is a Cat 5. Dangerous storm system. Good news, it is out in the Philippine Sea right now. It is out open. It's moving north of Yap, north of Palau, here in the Philippine Sea, tracking off there towards the west. And if you look at the last few numbers here, maintaining that Cat 5 status, look at that. But then as it approaches the Philippines, we are expecting a bit of weakening. That's all thanks to a passing trough that's going to allow for some shear to elongate out of this storm system, and a bit of weakening. Now, this is something, I've said it time and time again. Let's say it one more time. This is the 5-day forecast, guys. That is a long-range forecast. Right now, the 5-day point is, prepare and watch. You always want to keep in mind the cone of air, because this could change. The westward trend is leaning towards this possibly making landfall, at least in the Batanes Islands, or maybe kissing the northeast coast of Luzon, or it could turn further towards the north, which would be great news. If it moves west, that is going to change the forecast quite significantly. But right now, once it gets to this 5-day point, it's going to be lingering right here, thanks to it butting up against a high-pressure area towards the west. And as it does so, do expect plenty of inflow to come from the west. And that means heavy rainfall for Region 1 out here. Look at that. Even as it's just towards the north, and all the guidance agrees with this, we're going to see that inflow with heavy showers from Manila, Subic, all the way down towards Visayas too, Mindanao. Even you're going to be looking at that inflow and showers, but the heaviest is back towards the north. This is the guidance. weathernerds.org, great site, pulling this further towards the west, having it linger. And once it gets to that point, look how the guidance just spreads right out. It's all over the place. That's what the ECMWF, the GFS, is very similar. It gets to that point, and that's where the uncertainty kind of lies. Basically, the good number of the options here do all pull it towards the north. None of the guidance is saying it's going to go south at this point. None of it is saying that it's going to be moving off and towards Visayas or anything like that. But the big question is, how close to Luzon will it get? Places like Apari, where I got this number right here. As this approaches, we could be looking at those winds coming straight in from the north, up and over 100 kilometers per hour, even if that center and that inner eye wall is well offshore. And then you still have that inflow I was talking about. And look at this down here. That inflow with the rain bands cruising across Visayas, well away from the storm center. That's that enhanced habagat we've been talking about that's really going to pull in those showers. Look at Mindoro, Manila, maybe those showers coming up through the Corregidor Strait, Manila Bay right in there, down towards Palawan as well. And then eventually it turns towards the north. Now, if it hooks later, this is going to be a problem for Taiwan too. Let's keep that in mind. Taiwan's going to really want to watch it. Same for Okinawa and the southern Japanese islands. It all really depends. I've said it for about a week straight. It's this high pressure area. That's the isobars around this high. So it's going to want to round that high. See that trough right there? This is a front coming in out of northeastern China. Once that digs down, it's going to hook our storm, start to pull it towards northeast. The timing of that front, though, 5 days out, and this is all fluid. It all works together like a machine. Really can make the difference on if this turns a couple 100 kilometers east of northeastern Luzon, or it moves and just taps Luzon, or maybe goes into the Batanes Islands. I mean, just wavering a few hundred kilometers makes a big difference, and 5 days out, this is tough to tell. This is not uncommon for this time of year, though. Look at all the previous tracks for May storms. This is just historically over the years, and you see how they all kind of get to this point, and then they churn northeast. Kind of rare for them to be straight runners in the month of May because we have all those rainy season fronts that, the Mayu Bayou front. They dip down and they grab these kind of like fish hooks, and they pull them towards the north and east, and that is the reason why the chance of this running directly over Luzon is pretty low. But, it's still possible, and that's the reason why I want to continue to stress this. But even, like I said, one more time, even if that doesn't take place, look at the enhanced monsoonal flow. Heavy showers up and down the west coast. And we're going to be talking about flooding, maybe even some landslides with this, just because of the persistency of the rain. Know your information through official sources, guys. When we're talking about this storm system, I'm so happy, and I love the comments. You guys are so nice saying, how you appreciate these updates. I am a meteorologist, if you're new to this channel. I've been doing specifically these WestPac weather updates since 2010. So 14 years now. Lived in the Western Pacific for a good portion of my life, but I'm not an official source. So make sure you're checking with the gossip, especially with those rainfall warnings and those signal force warnings once they are being issued out here. Since I am not an official source, I'm kind of just doing this in my spare bedroom. Said at the beginning of the video, big help for everybody on Patreon. Big thanks for everybody on Patreon who does continue to support this channel and makes it possible for us to put out these updates, because they are expensive, I'll be honest with you. Boy, I've been toying with the satellite imagery, just the different color gradients, and this one really just shows you the power of this storm system. If you watch closely, you can see how it kind of radiates out from the center there. Let's go back to the satellite imagery here. You can see how it just radiates out from the center of that circulation. Here we go. That is just that outflow aloft I'm talking about. As that storm system moves off towards the west, we have that good inflow. I mean, my goodness, this is just one of those storms this is like textbook, guys, and dangerous out here. Hopefully you don't know anybody who's traveling over the ocean, which, by the way, I put this graphic up because I know the Nimitz is heading down, I believe, from Japan. I'm not sure where they are right now, to be quite honest with you, but I know they're usually out there in Japan. They're going to be hit some long period swells. Not only that, but they usually travel. The Nimitz is an aircraft carrier, nuclear powered, big ship. But they usually travel with a bunch of smaller ships. It's, the whole fleet that goes around with them. And those small boys, they're in like 10 to 15 foot seas at the very least. 3 to 6, which is in the red, that's indicating 20 to 30 foot seas around that storm center, which, by the way, speaking of the seas, if you're in Okinawa this weekend, going to enjoy those long period swells out there. If you're a surfer, my goodness, those waves are going to be kicking off from this storm system. But dangerous, I'll tell you that. That's after it re-intensified today. That little dip right there, by the way, that is after it pushed through Guam, and you had that a bit of weakening from it. Now, moving off there further towards the west. Anyways, that's all for today, guys. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please let me know down in the comment box below. As always, thanks for watching. And of course, the number one thing is stay safe out there. Got a